figure out teams. And, you know, the more I watch San Francisco, I was thinking last night, the more I watch San Francisco, the less I like San Francisco. And then it sort of hit me, is that San Francisco is two teams. When they're facing a pocket quarterback, they're one team. When they're facing a mobile quarterback, they're another team. And so they start the year, and they play an Andy Dalton and a Mason Rudolph, and they play a Jared Goff, and they play... and then a Kyle Allen, and you're like, wow, that defense is unbelievable. And then the last 3 weeks, they've faced Kyler Murray twice and Russell Wilson twice, and you're like, I see. This is what San Francisco is. They're, first of all, offensively, they miss George Kittle. He's kind of the Gronk to New England. George Kittle is to San Francisco. They can still score without him, but Gronk kind of defined on big moments the Patriots last several years. George Kittle really defines who San Francisco is. They're a lot fuzzier offensively when he's not playing. But if you look at the schedule for San Francisco, so the next 2 weeks, they face Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. And the Niners' defense is not going to look as great. And then they face Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, and Jared Goff. And their defense is going to look great. And then they've got to go to Seattle, and they've got to face Russell Wilson, and their defense won't be as great. Is that San Francisco's one of those teams. The way their defense is set up, if you're a pocket quarterback and you don't have an elite O-line, good luck. But I think Dallas could play him. I think Baltimore. I think Green Bay. I think Arizona's given them trouble twice. I think Seattle. Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. There's a way to beat San Francisco, and the more I watch them, the more vulnerable they become. If your quarterback can move, you got a real shot. You're going to put up 24, 25 points. I mean, Kyler Murray's given him headaches the last 2 times he's faced him. He's got nothing to work with. He's got a rookie head coach. He's got a bad O-line. I mean, they're really a rebuilding team. And I'm watching yesterday, and I'm like, listen, San Francisco's defense, you know, it's the Mike Tyson quality. I always felt this about Mike Tyson. If you had a reach, if you were big, and you could be an average fighter, Mitch Blood Green, Trevor Burbick, if you didn't have a reach advantage, Mike Tyson was a pit bull on a beach ball. But if you were long, Buster Douglas, Larry Holmes, you could keep Mike away. You could jab him and frustrate him. That's San Francisco. When you got that moving quarterback, you force them to be honest. They can't pin their ears back. If you have a pocket quarterback, they are Mike Tyson in their prime. They're just going to engulf you and humiliate Kyle Allen and Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff. And it's like, oh, you got to cover your eyes. It's horrible. But over the next couple of weeks, watch the next 2 weeks. Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson are going to move around against this offensive line. Russell Wilson will in the last week. Then it's Brees, Matt Ryan, and Jared Goff. Good luck. Thanks for flying United. Those guys will get buried. All right, here's the other thing. So after Thursday night, a lot of people were saying, oh, man, a Cleveland Browns. Holy smokes, a Cleveland Brown. Playoff. By the way, the NFC equivalent of the Cleveland Browns this morning is the Chicago Bears. 4-6 and a number 10 seed. Do you think Chicago's a playoff team? Why do you think Cleveland's a playoff team? Cleveland's season ended yesterday because the teams they needed to lose all won. They're not winning their division over Baltimore. Can we all admit that in Cleveland? I mean, I know you're delusional, but we can all admit Baltimore's going to win the division. So Cleveland now is racing for the wild card spot against Indianapolis, Buffalo, and Oakland, and they all won. And Indianapolis is not only 6-4, but they've got a significantly better coach, a significantly better offensive line, and Jacoby Brissett is back. Indianapolis has a 2-game lead over Cleveland, and the better coach, the better O-line. Oakland is now 6-4. They've got the better coach and the better offensive line, and they play the Jets next. And then there's Buffalo's now got a 3-game lead. They're 7-3 over you. And Buffalo, you're not catching them. They're not going on a 5-game losing streak, a 3-game losing streak. And so right now we know New England's winning their division. Baltimore's winning their division. And then, you know, for the record, the Jags and the Chargers have the same record as Cleveland. And I hear nobody nationally talking about the Chargers or the Jags. And I think both have better roster than Cleveland. Certainly the Chargers do. So I think yesterday was the end of the season. If Thursday night was not the end of the season for the Browns, yesterday was the end of the season. So we know this about Cleveland. They're not going to have Myles Garrett. So your best defensive player you're not going to have. You're 2 games back. The equivalent of you in the NFC is Chicago, and nobody considers Chicago even worth a discussion after last night. The difference is Chicago just lost. You just won on Thursday, but the season's over. You got to face Baltimore. You're not winning it. Good luck in Arizona with Kyler Murray without Myles Garrett. You still have one of the bottom 5 coaches in the league. You're still the most penalized team in terms of yards in the NFL. And all the teams you're chasing won yesterday. Raiders now have the Jets. They're 6-4. They're going to win that game. And Buffalo's now got a 3-game lead. They won. And Indianapolis has Jacoby Brissett yesterday, and they tossed Jacksonville all over the field, so they're not going anywhere. And season over officially. I know. The media's got you. And for the record, Houston is also 6-4. We know Houston is better than Cleveland. They lost. I still think they'll win their division. I think Baltimore's just in a spot now where they're humiliating Seattle, they're humiliating New England, they're humiliating Houston. You don't want any part in Week 11 of the Baltimore Ravens, just like you didn't want any part of San Francisco in the first 6 weeks. You don't want any part of them. You don't want any part right now of Baltimore that's starting to remind me of the Cam Newton Panthers that made the Super Bowl. It's not just they're unique. It's not their veteran coach. There's a certain psychology and emotional avalanche here building in Baltimore where they feel like they are about ready to knock you out about 7 punches into the fight. Colin right, Colin wrong next, hour 2.